Open your eyes.
If you are wondering why everything going on in the world feels so terribly off, then you have come to the right place. A veil has been put over the eyes of humanity. Evil people in high places have been hiding the truth in plain sight and building a false reality on lies and deception for far too long. And now, their time is coming to an end. It's time to fight back, to wake up, and to begin an uprising. Now is a time for judgment.
This is a time for judgment. Welcome to today's show. This is a very important one for those of you who are wondering exactly what's going on in the world. Well, the TV show Westworld breaks it down pretty well. Now, that's a show that's filled with predictive programming. It's a show like Stranger Things almost. I mean, not the same type of show, but a show where it's really just out in the open of what they're doing openly. They call it different things here in this realm that we live in, like CERN and Stranger Things with them going to the upside down and tearing through the veil. And in Westworld, the stuff we see with artificial intelligence and what's going on in today's world, they are showing you exactly what's going on with this outbreak that's occurring right now and getting a certain something into your body and black goo. It is so unbelievably obvious what they're showing you. And people go, well, why would they do that? Well, because nobody's watching it thinking that what they're seeing is actually going on. And then when they see someone like me breaking it down, they're like, look at this crazy person. He's thinking that what's going on in this show is actually going on. And he's correlating the two like a crazy person because they don't think. They don't realize or understand how the occult operates. They don't realize that these shows are spells that are being cast on these people. They reveal themselves to everyone. This is a part of universal law. They reveal everything. They show everything. They're tricky about how they do it. They use fiction, and they tell you that it's not real, but it's real, and then everything that we're told is real in the news is not real. Everything is inverted. That goes back to Aleister Crowley's teachings. Everything is in reverse, pretty much, of what we see it as. Westworld is a show, and I'm going to show you each clip, and you're going to be pretty surprised, I think, because it's so in our faces, is a show that is about transhumanism. So rich people go to, a wild, wild west place out in the middle of nowhere where, they pay a lot of money to go, where humans, which are transhuman, so they're robot people, but they look like real people, are on running on a simulation. They're, it looks real and they can do whatever they want. So they go there, they can commit murder, they can have sex with whoever they want. They can do whatever they want in this town to these transhuman / robots. So they go there and they just abuse the robots. So the show plays on, in the beginning of the show, on how humans are wicked and evil and disgusting. And the robots then become self-aware and they realize this, and the humans are actually depicted as the bad people in the show, which is sick, but this is what this is turning into, this world. So as the show progresses, the artificial intelligence, the transhuman, becomes alive, and they start, becoming self-aware and realizing what's going on, yada, yada, yada. Cut to where they are now on the show. Here, this is where I'll start. So they're playing around with this thing that, it's called black goo. They even call it black goo in the show. Now, they need to get and want to get the black goo inside of people's bodies. Why? Because the black goo will control people. They'll be able to control them, as I'll show you as we move along. But let's start here. So instead of using, something like a syringe, they use flies to show the transition of how they get the black goo inside of human beings' bodies. They put it inside of flies. I'm surprised they didn't use mosquitoes, but they put it inside of flies, and then these flies go inside of humans, and then these humans become quote-unquote possessed. Take a look.
That's some kind of a parasite. Black goo look familiar.
They're infecting the flies with it. What was that?
What?
You can't hear it.
I don't hear anything.
Perhaps it's not at a frequency you can hear.
Okay, so they have to get the goo inside of people. Do you see where this is going? And again, the flies represent a syringe. The goo is what they want to get in you. Okay? So they're getting the goo inside of people. Why? Because they want to have programmable people. This is The flies are representing programmable matter, right? The black goo is going inside the flies. The flies are taking out a mind of their, a controlled mind, a hive mind, so to speak. So these flies now go inside of people. But what's going to control them? Oh, there's this huge tower that makes sound. It almost looks like, I don't know, a 5G tower. And it makes a sound that only people who are hosts or who have this inside of them can hear from, because if they don't have it inside of them, they're not getting the frequencies, as you'll see here, and it's telling people to off themselves.
The sound is coming from this device.
The sound is somehow controlling them. Are they hosts? Unlock the cells.
I'm trying, but it's encrypted.
So now you see the people who have this inside of them, okay, are being controlled from this tower, this 5G like tower. And then they go on to talk about how everybody is going to be under control. How the artificial intelligence wanted to pass their disease, their parasite onto people so they can control people. Does this sound familiar? A parasite, a disease, right? Pass it on to people, get it into people so that they be able to control people and control their minds.
What did she do to me?
What I'm going to do to all of your kind. I made you my pet. And everything will be so much easier. You won't even want to resist. Soon, it won't matter where they run. Everyone will be under my control.
It's never about the park. This was always about you. Spreading your disease. Will become a carrier.
I prefer the term host. Then my parasites. Welcome to the super spreader event of the century. You're the first wave.
So then as the show wraps up here, the episodes wrap up, the few episodes that this is mentioned in, the most recent ones, we get the host here talking about, people being hosts for it, and then how some adults are able to fight it, but children can't, which is interesting because there's a real big push for children to have this, and how children are going to be the ones who push this forward, which is something I've been talking about, the face of the New World Order. They flat out pretty much tell you that kids will be the face of the New World Order. This is why you see Greta Thunberg and all these kids being empowered, because they're clueless and they're just molding their minds instead of molding their minds with fake science and all this other stuff. Like they're molding their minds with fake lies about what the world is, but they're also empowering young kids. But so empowering these kids who are clueless, they're empowering stupidity. And this is obviously all done by design. And these children who are just completely under mind control now, that we see with climate change, they don't realize what the carbon footprint's about and what they're actually trying to do to humanity. They literally think that they're going to burn into ashes because the world is going to burn around them from heat. I mean, just the ridiculous crap that they believe. They don't understand anything about a new world order because they've been programmed to dismiss anything they hear from people like us as disinformation, as crazy lunatics, as tinfoil hat wearers. So listen to this scene where they flat out pretty much tell you that they need children. Children will be who they control and who they mold.
The parasite worked on adults initially, but there was always some resistance. At a certain age, your brains become more rigid. Fortunately, that's not the case with children. Taking orders. The parasite growing in perfect symbiosis with their minds.
So they tell you that, and then we get to the point where this is now unleashed upon the world. This is the reality we're in now, where this has been unleashed upon the world because people are now all carrying this black goo inside their bodies, okay? And they're all being connected and run through this giant tower. You see where this is going? And this giant tower you've seen throughout these clips already makes the sound. It gives the command to the subconscious mind, thus controlling the people. Well, it's frightening.
Do you understand now, Caleb? Welcome to my world.
There's a beauty to this world, an order, a grand design. We made sure of that. It's a dream for so long, and we finally made it real. The world is ours. Not a better world, a perfect one.
Interesting, right? Interesting. And this is only going to get worse, of course, as we move to 6G, and of course, as more and more people start taking these things into their bodies. Now, they go on to show an episode, the future next week episode, of course, and talking about a new order, their order, and how the world is theirs and how they're going to control humanity. But these are all conspiracies, of course. And again, this is why it's so easy for them to convince people that this isn't happening, because they can use someone like me, and I'm doing this to get the truth out, but I have tons of videos talking about the black goo. I just did a video of Cardi B with the black goo, right? Video after video after video, Lady Gaga, all of them, Lady Barfbag, showing you the black goo and why we see it so prominently over the last decade. And then talking about the connection with 5G, the stuff I've showed you with the airwaves and music, right? This is all stuff that is real. This is actual science. The thing that people don't believe is that they're actually getting this inside of people's bodies. They think that that's all a crazy conspiracy. And when we talk about shows like this, they've been programmed to just dismiss these things as, oh, they're just actors and shows, and some guy just wrote it in his basement. He's really talented and artistic. And we're all just supposed to believe that. You know, even though all these stories are all the same, all these movies have the same plot themes. The black goo that they're using in this, haven't we seen this in Prometheus? Haven't we seen this in dozens and dozens of shows that I've exposed and others have exposed? Yes, we have. So aren't they just copying it? It's like if I get a Freddy Krueger mask and film a movie, are they going to put it in the movie theater? I'm going to be like, it's Teddy Krueger, huh? And be like, oh, what an original concept, Teddy Krueger. What? Wait, what? Isn't that like Freddy? I mean, all they do is just use the same ideas over and over. It's all programming. That's what the fact that they use, all these alien movies over and over again. All these movies, glorifying certain things. I mean, I've gone through this a million times. So anyway, back to this. So you have the black goo, right? The purpose of getting the black goo to make people transhuman and controllable is what it's about. They need to get it inside people's bodies. So what do they use? They put it inside of the flies, which is the syringe. They get it into people's bodies. People are now controlled through these towers. Boy, it sounds like a crazy conspiracy. I guess they wrote this whole script because they heard crazy conspiracy theorists on the internet, and they were just these, this is HBO, so it's pretty big. This isn't some low-level production here. So there's a lot of money into it. But they just heard like a YouTuber like me or somebody else out there who's covered this over the last decade, and they're like, yeah, let's take that idea and we'll base our whole show around it. Because we're going to troll them. And the idiots out there actually think that is what they do. And they're like, oh, they probably heard him and making fun of him. That's great. They're so stupid. This is how magic works. They show you, they have to show you. There's universal law at play here. Because free will is a thing. It exists until they have full control, which is what they eventually will get and want over people's bodies by taking the mark. They'll have control. But the universal law tells us, for those that don't know, they have laws that they have to play by. Okay, they're using deception and lies, but they're telling you outright what they're doing. It's all in front of our faces to see. And people use their free will and they either wake up like we have or they reject it because of the programming. It's a real scam that Satan's pulled. It's pretty pathetic, to be honest, that these are the tactics that they have to use to get people to turn from God, which is lying and deceiving. But this is what the Bible tells us about the deception and the falling away. So they flat out show you this stuff. This is how spell casting works, how black magic and sorcery works, and it's over the mind of the viewers. People will watch this show and they'll be like, that's interesting. They'll hear something like me talking about it, breaking it down, and they'll say I'm completely nuts. But in reality, this is exactly what's occurring. Exactly what's occurring. It's frightening, and it's ballsy that they actually show this stuff, but they have to. That's the thing. I see this and I'm like, I can't even believe that they're doing this. But of course I can't believe it because I know how this works. They will show it to you. It enhances the power of their spell that they have over the minds of humanity. Everyone is cast, this spell cast over them who doesn't have the Holy Spirit. And many who do have the Holy Spirit are still blind from a lot of this stuff. How many Christians do we know that have gone and got potioned? How many preachers have we heard who are clueless and leading their flock to hell for the most part because they're telling them to go get stuck because it's the right thing to do? Frightening, really frightening. I hope you found this informative. I tried my best to make it as simple as possible to break it down for those of you who still have trouble understanding what is going on. But that's what this is about. I thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you and your families.